Hello you guys, and welcome to your weekly card pull. My name is Alexa. Today I'm going to be doing a reading for the week of November 19th through November 25th of 2023. This reading is specifically channeled for my Capricorn, so if you have Capricorn Sun, Moon, Rising, and or North Node, this one is for you. I am going to start out with my Oracle deck today. First question I want to ask for you guys: what guidance might be helpful, what perspectives might be useful going into this week? For those of you that do celebrate or are in the US, this is the week of Thanksgiving. So for some of us, that can bring up a lot of themes depending on how you relate to this holiday. For some of us, that means time with family. This can be a really beautiful thing. For some, that can be really stressful. So that is something that for those of you who are looking for a little bit of love and guidance with that process, this might help with. If that doesn't relate to you, if you're in a different country, or if that's just not something that you celebrate, this reading will still pertain to you, as I'm not channeling it specifically for that purpose, but that is something that I do have in the back of my mind. So again, what forms of guidance or perspectives might be useful for you guys? I am starting out with my Crystal Spirits Oracle deck today. So we're going to start out with Oracle, maybe move into a little bit of tarot at the end if that feels good. I'm feeling like there might be some clarification that I'll seek out of the Oracle deck. Out of the tarot deck. We'll see what pops up. So it's looking like there are going to be some themes of, oh my god, we're not going to do that. That's the entire deck. Looks like there's going to be some themes of self-love for you guys. So the first card that's really standing out to me I pulled is the card of Rose Quartz. If you are not super into crystals, or if this is just like not something that you have a lot of experience with, that's totally fine. If you've not done a reading with me before, totally fine. Just pay attention to the main messages. If they don't stick or they don't land with you, it's probably not meant for you. And if it does, then something to keep in mind. So Rose Quartz, again, main theme of self-love. I do feel like this might be coming through in a myriad of ways for you. I am feeling called to kind of open up the book for this one to see if there's anything specific that wants to be read. So, number 48. All right, so with the card of Rose Quartz, themes, major themes: self-love, self-worth, being enough, and worthiness. When Rose Quartz appears, you are called to pay attention to one of the most wonderful creations that has ever been brought into being, which is you. This can come through in a few different ways. So if you are in relationships, maybe you're struggling with your sense of worth within a relationship. This can be romantic or platonic connections, family connections. Again, if family is like a really big theme for you this week, your sense of worthiness in terms of your family or the way that you relate to them might possibly be something that you are looking at. If that doesn't resonate with you, this card is really at its very base, like looking at the concept of scarcity and abundance. And abundance being something that you're being asked to draw from yourself and to also see within yourself. This can come out in a few different ways. If this doesn't resonate in terms of your relationships, the way you relate to other people, maybe this is something that will come forward a little bit more in your relationship to money. Maybe feeling like your job isn't enough, you're not being paid enough, or you don't deserve to be being paid what you're being paid. It can be two different, totally different things there. But themes of enoughness. I'm going to come back to this one, but themes of enoughness is really big for you guys. Okay, another card that I pulled for you guys, I did pull this one in reverse, so appears upside down. Anytime a card is pulled in reverse, it's asking you to either look within yourself, might be touching on some topics that maybe you have some shadow work to do, maybe a little bit of resistance to. So this one might feel a little bit more challenging, but I pulled the card of Aqua or Quartz. This card, major theme is connecting with a sense of purpose. So for some of you, maybe your sense of purpose or purposefulness is feeling a little bit lost right now. I feel like for some of you, dear Capricorns, maybe there's this like blockage. I'm getting the word blockage with your work or the way that you're showing up, or feeling like maybe you're going through the motions. You're just like doing things just to do them, but maybe not like really feeling purposeful in the work that you're doing, or at times may not be. And so that is something to keep in mind and look out for. I do have a feeling that this sense of purposefulness might be connected to your sense of self-love, your sense of worthiness. So that is a relationship I want you to be aware of, or at least conscientious of. So yeah, just something to keep in mind. I also pulled clear quartz in reverse. So this card's all about amplification, and because it's in reverse, I actually feel like it's really speaking to and amplifying this aqua aura quartz. So anytime crystal clear quartz comes up, it's really kind of acknowledging things that are expansive in nature or things that are like growing. So this might be a growing issue. On the other side, this also might be an opportunity for you to experience growth, and it's up to you how you want to take that narrative, what you want to do with it, how you want to see it, how you want to internalize it. But there is this concept of amplification that's coming out. Something to note, on the 22nd, so middle of the week, the sun is shifting from Scorpio into Sagittarius. If you don't follow astrology or you're like, what the hell is that supposed to mean? I do have a segment called What the Fuck Astrology on TikTok. Feel free to check in with that because I will walk through that transition a little bit more specifically. That being said, something to keep in mind, Scorpio energy is all about kind of going inward, looking at the depths of things, looking at the darkness, maybe some things that are taboo, things that are really challenging. A lot of emotionality comes through in that process. So collectively, we are all looking at those themes, or we have been looking at those themes in our own respective ways. This can come out really, really strongly for some people, depending on their placements or their life or where they're at in their journey. For other people, it might be a little bit more muted. But in general, these themes of like what's hidden, what's not coming to the surface, what is coming to the surface that was previously buried beneath, that might be a little bit more prevalent. And as we move into Sagittarius, we're experiencing a collective shift where we're now in a position for expansion. Sagittarius is the traveler, it's the philosopher, it's all about basically traveling either physically or with the mind or with the spirit. So being able to expand and to grow and to learn and to see everything. The Sagittarian energy is really beautiful because it has this like big picture thinking. It can see all of the pieces. It's not super lasered in, whereas Scorpio kind of tends to like laser in on certain emotions or emotional experiences. But in my personal opinion, the purpose of that Scorpio energy is it gives us the opportunity to really dive into something and to kind of like zone in on it and experience it from a place of depth until we've learned what we have to learn from that, so we can step away and see the greater picture. So collectively, just know that this week, on Wednesday, we are moving into this opportunity to experience things again from a little bit more of a like holistic and collective standpoint. So this gives us, in the way of clear quartz, the opportunity to experience a lot of growth and a lot of change, a lot of, again, amplification, expansion, moving outwards. So really this like kind of, I mean, honestly, like all of the signs to me are some level of growth, but this is you might feel like a more visceral sense of like growth and expansion in this chapter, which is really beautiful. I did also pull for you guys card number 33 if you are interested in a numerology. This is the card of lithium quartz. Absolutely beautiful card, and this one really comes through with the message of harmoniousness, peacefulness, and interconnectedness. This is very much, despite the like kind of abrasive red coloring, this card is very much about the ways that we are interconnected with the world around us. So for this one, I'm very much feeling called to pull out the book to see if it has anything specific to say. All right. So this actually seems like a little bit more advice. So the first three cards I think were more pertinent to like what themes can we expect to be looking at. This one is more telling me like how are we going to work with these energies? What are some things to keep in mind in terms of how you might want to show up, or like a little bit more guidance, I guess. So very first thing that says in the book, becoming still calms the activity in our head, puts us back in touch with our bodies, our spirit, and the universe. Lithium quartz spirit appears with a reminder to get quiet and recognize you have all within, and that you have within you all that you need. So there is definitely, coming back to this rose quartz theme, like this enoughness. You have enough, you have the knowledge that you need, you have the experience that you need, you have the intelligence that you need, whatever it is that you feel like you're lacking, you have all that you need within you. It might simply be a matter of accessing it. Maybe there are some opportunities for expansion and growth that are going to give you that opportunity to access it a little bit more. But there is this like internal inherent worth or internal inherent ability that maybe you're perceiving that you don't have, that you actually do have. Lithium quartz Also says you need to amplify some of the qualities that can bring you a sense of joy and fulfillment by giving them quiet, calm attention. Overstimulation can be distracting, so refresh yourself with some time spent in or around nature or nature's creatures, whether a furry animal or a pond with fish swimming happily. The swimming happily seems cute and relevant to someone. I don't know why. Retrain your senses to recognize all that is well when you are in tune with the rhythms of the earth and aware of the interconnectedness, the water and the sky, yourself and the ground beneath you, the breeze and the birds flying from tree to tree. Okay, so honestly, what this really comes down to me, is a willingness to have things take time and a quiet attention on the more beautiful aspects of life and or your experience. So in your relationships, for like some of you, this may be coming through in your relationships. Again, family, relationships, like romantic, friendships, work relationships, work environment, whatever it is. For some of you, there is a level of like, I think, a benefit that you might get from taking a step back and quietly observing like all that is calm, all that is peaceful, all that is nourishing about those connections for you. This isn't something that necessarily has to be like there's a really big strength in quietness with this card, I feel like. Especially moving into holiday season, if again you celebrate, there's this like stimulation that's constant, and it kind of barrages us, whether it's with advertisements or expectations, gift giving for some people, just like there's busyness, schedules, family, like a lot of hectic energy can come through in this time. But ultimately, I feel like you're being called to bring a little bit more peace into your experience by consciously choosing to slow down a little bit, consciously choosing to experience things from a more like peaceful state, and also to acknowledge like all things. Okay, I'm gonna go on a tangent that I feel like will be really important for someone. All things in life are interconnected in some way, shape, or form. If you are not familiar with Wuxing, W-U space X-I-N-G, something I highly recommend looking into if you're interested in like the interconnectedness of life. It basically looks at the way that your body and nature, like everything comes in seasons and cycles. Everything happens in seasons and cycles. That's why I like astrology. It's not for the sake of, predictions or whatever. It's just a matter of like, life happens in seasons and cycles, and that is information, that is data that we can utilize to understand like what season we might be in and how we can best work with it. It's like, it'd be like if it was summer or winter and you were able to recognize, okay, in winter, the time changes, it gets colder, here are the things I need to do to prepare for that. So understanding where we are in the cycle collectively can be really helpful. Now, how does this all relate? Dialing back in. That is something that we can learn from if we spend time in nature. A lot of those lessons we might learn silently, like if you watch plants grow, for example. That's not a process that happens overnight. And a lot of, especially in Western culture, I feel like a lot of us are pushed to try to experience life from a very like fast pace. And that is definitely not impossible. Rapid expansion is possible, rapid growth, it happens. Overnight success, it happens. That being said, for the most part, a lot of the work that's done isn't usually seen or showed or sometimes even acknowledged. So if you're in a position where you feel like you're working hard, but you're not seeing the rewards, maybe not seeing those rewards is causing you to doubt yourself, you're not feeling like a level of worth because things are taking time or whatever, just keep in mind that like Mother Nature always takes her time. There is an unfolding of events that does happen, and everything happens in divine order, and that is something that we can learn from nature or spending time with it. This might require a level of patience for some of you. That might be a little bit challenging to take some time out, especially if you're in the mindset, which I know I have been in so many times in my life, and is something I've really worked to find a balance with. If you're in the mindset of like better, faster, harder, stronger all the time, and not taking that time to slow down and to like, I guess, allow yourself to integrate some of the things that you might be learning when you're in those more high speed states, you can get burned out, or your ability to take those things in might, I guess, get overworked or exhausted. So that's not to be cryptic or negative or anything like by any means. This is simply a matter of like understanding we are in winter season right now, fall, winter. sorry, we're still in fall, I guess, but like in the season of fall or autumn, things are falling away. We're releasing things. The time has changed for some of us. For some of us, that's not really the case. But there's like some shifts that are happening that really ask us to slow down. And ultimately, like that is what nature intends for us as well. So being willing to spend time with nature and to acknowledge that aspect of it. Also, I feel like for some of you, I'm getting the word comfort. Like I feel like it'll be really comforting to spend time with, again, per the book, like furry creatures, animals. People are great, people are wonderful, but sometimes the companionship of other forms of nature might be helpful or informative for you. So that's just something to keep in mind. So again, some growth and expansion I think will come from this, and the willingness to really like tap in with these like slower sides of yourself and life. I'm feeling called to move into tarot. Feeling like we're going to close out on Oracle. So I'm going to ask... my next deck is my Tattoo Tarot deck. I absolutely love this one. Super beautiful artwork. I will be honest, I did get this one fairly recently, so shuffling it because the cards are a little bigger can be a little bit of a challenge for me, but it's fine. We're going to do what we can. So the first question I want to ask my tarot deck for you guys, I'm getting the word guidance. So what other forms of guidance do you have to offer? What other... Oh my God, my... hands are so small compared to these cards. It's funny because they're like narrow, but they're really long, so like holding them is a whole ordeal. We're gonna shuffle a little bit differently. Okay, so what forms of guidance might be helpful? Oh my. What other things can you expect? Maybe outcomes. I'm getting possible outcomes. Possible outcomes if you are willing to do the work and sit with things and move slow. All right, so we'll see if anything else will come out. Okay, those are the outcome cards. Got it. Okay, dear Capricorn. So I have a lot of interesting cards here that are coming up. I feel like a lot of you might be looking at themes of money. I did pull 2 cards that have to do with coins. Coins or pentacles cards are usually related to the more physical aspect of our experience and not quite so much the emotional aspect. So just something to keep in mind. So the first thing that I pulled for you guys when I asked for guidance about dealing with this week, I did pull the 3 of Swords and the 4 of Coins. This has, again, a lot to do with security or sense of security, financial security especially. 4 of Coins, this card is like it can represent the stability of things or the stability of financial assets. This can also imply like maybe like a trust or inheritance, wills, grants, benefits, things that have to do with like long-term wealth, I guess. With that being said, with these 2 cards pulled together, I do feel like some of you may be relying on the 4 of Coins. You might be relying on this a little bit too much. You also might be a little bit too attached to this, so it's causing you a lot of upset or a lot of strife in your day-to-day life because of like an obsession with this like building foundations and building blocks, which I think everything comes down to balance, honestly. I don't feel like it's a bad thing if you're focused on, building long-term wealth by any means. Like, I don't want you to feel like that's a poor decision. However, the way that you're doing that and the way that you're relating to experience might be causing you a little bit of a challenge. So if that resonates, per what I said from the last card pull, with the lithium quartz, like it might be useful to really like slow down, acknowledge that, these things, building like wealth over time, building, even if it's not about wealth, if this is just about like security and stability in your relationships and anything, building any kind of security and stability over time, it does take some time. And yes, it's important to be protective over what you have. For some of you, maybe you're not being protective enough. Maybe you're spending, without even considering the long-term things. There is also that juxtaposition, of the other side of things that you might be experiencing. But either way, the relationship you have to long-term wealth is something that you're probably going to want to be looking at and paying attention to, because ultimately the relationship that you have, whether it's you're overspending because you don't care at all, or you're hoarding money because you care so much about building long-term success that you're not allowing yourself to live in the moment and maybe share that wealth in a way that actually feels good to you and your soul. Because of that, you might be experiencing a little bit of a challenge. This can come in the way of like feeling like an absence or an alienation. Again, for some of you, 333, nice. For some of you, if you are not sharing your wealth in a way that feels good to you, it might make you feel like you're kind of cut off from those that you love. And ultimately that can really just come from like, if you're keeping things in to the point where you're cutting others out of your experience, that might feel like it's serving this longer term goal, which is okay, but it's important to balance out like what your intentions are and to have very pure intentions and to act accordingly. Now, I did ask about outcome. The outcome I was asking about specifically was, what can you expect if you will, like if you do take that step back and if you allow yourself to move at a slow pace? So I pulled a few cards that I think are interesting. Ultimately, the one that's really sticking out to me that's like super positive, I did pull for you guys the Sun card. This card is all about optimism, experiencing life from a really joyful perspective. This is like one of the most, in my opinion, encouraging cards of this deck, or of any tarot deck. I love this card. I love the artwork, which is a total side note, but really what this card boils down to is like this sense of fulfillment and happiness and feeling like you have ultimately arrived at a place that like you would want to be in, or your higher self would want for you to be in. Now, I did also pull for you guys in this. I pulled the Chariot in reverse. I pulled 7 of Coins in reverse. And I did pull the Lovers card in reverse. So a couple of things to keep in mind. The first thing that you guys might be experiencing is that in order to get to this place of feeling like you have fulfillment, that you have like excitement, in order to get to this place or to achieve this place, you might have to have a level of discipline. You might have to have a level of like internal action is the word that's coming through. So again, with that lithium quartz, like going within and spending slow time in nature, a level of like quietness. It's not about isolation, but there is definitely this level of like really getting true about what's important for you. That may differ from people around you. Other people around you may have an opinion as to what your life should look like, or you may have an opinion as to what your life should look like for the sake of others. And all of that is just something to be conscientious of and mindful of in your experience and the way that you are showing up, and just to make sure that like their opinions aren't really dictating the way that you're living and what feels good or best to you. Now, I do feel that there's also like a level of, I don't want to say warning, but like something to be mindful of with all of these cards in reverse, the Chariot in reverse, Lovers reverse, 7 of Coins reverse, and that really boils down to a level of like harmoniousness. Again, I pulled with the Oracle deck a lot of cards that have to do with like harmony, don't know why I said it that way, harmony and interconnectedness. That lithium quartz is all about interconnectedness. And there is this, and I feel like that's speaking also to your internal experience, like feeling an alignment within yourself. And with these cards all in reverse, I am getting the sense that for some of you, if you do not take this time to nourish yourself, or alternatively, if you take this time but don't get clear about your intentions or your values, there might be like a level of misalignment, there might be a level of imbalance, there might be a level of potentially disharmony, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because ultimately like you're gonna learn one way or the other. Like you're going to achieve this one way or the other. So this isn't meant to like scare you or, you know, make you doubt yourself. But ultimately, I do feel that it might be in your best interest at some point this week to get clear on, honestly, just like what your values are. With 7 of Coins in reverse, a few things that I want to note about this card. First thing being, like, this card in the upright position has a lot to do with long-term success, investments, perseverance, like things, like there's a temporal component of your financial stability. And in the reverse, it can imply a lack of long-term vision. Again, for some of you, I do feel like with especially these 2 cards, I feel like for some of you, if you are not paying attention to the long-term, how your short-term habits are affecting your long-term experience, you might actually be blocking yourself from taking aligned actions right now. So just maybe taking some time to look at your finances, to look at how you're spending your money. Is it something that really aligns with your values? Are there areas that you need to budget or cut? Are there areas that you want to maybe invest a little bit more? The areas where you might want to invest in a little bit more, maybe those have to do with sharing with others or shared experiences, so that you're not like blocking yourself from from having the things that ultimately will bring you to this point, and allow you to feel aligned with this point. With the Lovers card in reverse, this has a few different possible iterations, one of them being self-love, so turning that love that you project out onto everyone else in on yourself, and giving yourself that love. With that being said, the more negative iteration of this card, if you want to interpret it that way, there can be a level of like disharmony or lack of alignment, lack of values being aligned. And so again, I do feel like the actions that you're taking, if they are not internally aligned, you're going to see that reflected out in external ways in your experience. This doesn't mean that the relationships you have to the people around you are misaligned, and it doesn't mean that you can't have them in your life or that you don't deserve those relationships. I think this is more asking you to get clear on what your values are and to stay true to those. And fortunately and unfortunately, the people that can't actually support that will eventually fall away or take a different place in your life. And that is, in my opinion, a really beautiful thing. But I do understand that that can be challenging as well. So that is something to keep in mind, that like the way that you show up ultimately will have effects long term. Finally, with the Chariot in reverse, you guys, some level of discipline will be required for this process. I know that, especially with the themes that I brought up earlier of like self-love and enoughness and worthiness, there may be some challenges with this, but ultimately it does take a level of discipline to see all of these things through and to really like sit with them and look at them. So ultimately what the advice and guidance comes down to for this week is create a little bit of space for your own self, your own experience, your own self-love. Maybe take some time to acknowledge your financial habits, your spending habits, your patterns in your relationships, the way that you relate to other people, whether that's your family, lovers, friends, etc. And ask yourself if all of those things are in alignment with the Sun card, with the things that genuinely bring you joy. And if they are not in alignment, it's going to take a level of discipline. It's going to take a level of work and effort, but the people that support you and support your own experience of your life, and then also your willingness to support yourself, ultimately those are all going to come through to help bring these things into fruition for you, so long as you give them the space to do so. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and let me know. I really appreciate you guys for tuning in. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in with this reading today. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel but you found this helpful, please feel free to do so. You can leave me a little thumbs up, drop a comment. I love when you guys let me know that these readings resonate. It encourages me to keep going, and also is a reminder that the work that I'm doing here is in some way valuable to you guys. So really appreciate your feedback and your time. I will be posting another one of these next week, as I do every single week. So I will see you guys then. And with all of that being said, I love you, thank you, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take it easy.